My name is John Fairest, and this is my testimony. Just as each person's testimony is slightly different, I was born in Cambridge and lived there where I had the opportunity of going to a church, found I could sing apparently, and ended up singing at King's College Chapel. That's quite a famous location. And then when I was 11, I moved to Hull, completely different from Cambridge. I found myself very isolated and a target for a certain group of people in many ways. Whilst I was at school, however, I got to know the local choir master who then introduced me to Holy Trinity Church, which again I joined the choir, and oddly enough, so did my father. And to some degree, that was an interesting time because I didn't really relate to the services. I knew what the words were coming up. And then one day, I started watching this series of films called Jesus of Nazareth. And I thought, how does that tie in with the church that I'm part of? Anyway, life moves on. My teenage years were dealing with multiple challenges, and I saw some time in the forces, and in the end ended up in Essex. I moved from Hull to Essex, completely different environment. Well, Essex was a bit of a life changer on the coast compared to Hull, but I had the privilege of having a next door neighbour who invited me to the local church called Coastland Community Church, and I had the privilege of meeting a fantastic pastor there and got involved with a great family of church there, and I'm still in contact with them to today. But the most interesting aspect of that situation was I got baptised, and this particular church had a great support network, great pastoral care, and still does. Now, the interesting angle from that was I was able to support members of the church, and 6 months after getting baptised, I found myself redundant at work, and that was when the church was really supportive, and I think that makes a massive difference. So from there, several years later, I found myself having to move again. Housing was an issue, and I moved to a place called Lincoln. Now, I had experiences in Essex of how church could be from the outreach and mission side, and in Lincoln I discovered street pastors, and I started getting involved with the church and became involved with the God Pod. Now, the God Pod was a vehicle going around the estates and talking to the community. And we had the kids coming on there. And at the same time, I was managing the local the local disco that we'd set up, or youth club within the church, which was a bit of an eye-opener to manage both. So that's getting people in the right place and doing all sorts of wonderful things and dealing with lots of interesting characters. Some good, some very interesting. So after that, for several years, I left the Methodist church. I felt God calling me to do different things. Although I'd been a local preacher during this period of time, other things beckoned. And part of the beckoning process was being involved with the Ghanaian Methodist church with Eric, who, well, we had an interesting period of time because we were struggling. We were doing prayer walks and all sorts around the estates, and we weren't having flocks of people coming into the church. However, we did have the fun of Eric going live on Facebook, and that was a journey for him that expanded into having the church website, me speaking on his radio to the nations, and being introduced to his multiple congregations in time. My journey also continued to other churches, and I've had the privilege of joining Ignite, and again speaking and sharing and discovering a prophetic message or prophetic gifting. And I'd like to encourage you that if you are currently experiencing a change in church, not sure quite where to go, pray about it. Let God open the doors. Let God open the doors in whatever your challenging situation might be, because he has a plan for you, and you'll find that in Scripture. Thank you.